Also, not in my bio, I used to be a stage actress way back in the day, so I think I'm louder than I am. Anyway, we are an organizational design and change agency, which means that we get to partner with change agents for a living. And today we're going to spend some time talking about one of my favorite tools for inspiring change. Now, there's many ways that you can make change, as you know. You can do a reorg, you can bring in a new leader, you can introduce a new digital tool. But the very most effective and lasting way that I've ever seen to make change is to help people change the story that they're telling about themselves and their roles, the organizations that they work in, and where the industry is headed. So we're going to spend some time today talking about how to change the story you're telling so that you can change your agency. Here's what we're going to do for the next, I have you for an hour and 45 minutes. 1, we'll talk a little bit about why the story matters. 2, we're going to do, this will be the lion's share, we're going to do an interactive session on how to reframe a story, a tool you can also take back. And then 3, we'll talk about what to do on Monday, whenever you get back to the office. Now, I'll ask of you a few things. It is an interactive session, so as much as I love doing a dog and pony show up here, you are going to be the ones supplying the energy. And so I'll ask you to be 3 things. 1, honest about the state of affairs in your company or in the industry. 2, caffeinated. I think I see you are taking care of that. That's great. And 3, kind. We're all trying our best, right? Now, if you are not all 3 of these things, you may know where you default to. Try and be in the middle. Yeah. You've self-ID'd? Yeah. The active jerk? No. Okay. We know who you are. I'm also, as a larger point, I'm happy to share this deck afterwards. So why the story matters. I want to tell a story about this man. This is Alfred Nobel, the namesake of our company. Does anyone know where Alfred made his fortune? You can yell it out. Yes, good. So most of us, or at least I did, associated with Alfred Nobel with the Peace Prize. But he actually made his fortune inventing and developing dynamite. He had the occasion one morning in 1888. He woke up, he was in a terrible mood. His brother Ludwig had just died of a heart attack. He sits down with his cup of coffee, opens the newspaper, turns to the obituary section, expecting to read Ludwig's obituary. And instead, he finds his own. This French newspaper had mistaken Alfred for his brother Ludwig. So he had the occasion to read what people would remember about his life and his legacy. And the headline was "The Merchant of Death is Dead." So that's a moment you take stock of your life. Right, what have I been doing with my time? And fast forward to his own eventual death. And it's no surprise that he left his life savings to the establishment of the Nobel Prize, which awards the greatest achievements for the benefit of humanity. So I offer this story, it's a provocation, to ask, what is the story of a life? The story of his life might have been death and destruction, and instead we largely remember him for the Peace Prize that honors all of the great humanitarians of our world. It's a change of story that made all the difference. Now, similarly, in organizations, we find that people tell stories in a few different dimensions. First, people are, actually, let me start at the top. First, they're thinking about what's the overarching growth story of our company. Are we getting bigger? Are we getting smaller? Are things good? Are they bad? Are we moving into this adjacent area, or are we moving over here? Within that overarching story is the story of any change you make within an organization. This is, we're reorging, we're bringing in a new leader, we're doing any of these things. And then underneath that, people will explain their own story, the story of the role I play. So I offer this because the role or the story that people tell about their own roles is not in a vacuum. It exists within the story of any change you make, and it exists within the story of your company. So we're working with one company who was telling their people, we see this all the time and time again, things are great, business is great, tons of growth opportunity. And it's an instinct of leaders to want to tell that message. And yet then came the layoffs. And so people are wondering, well, what's the story of that change? You just told me things were great, and now we're going through, what does that mean? And so then the role that they played, they actually didn't know. Am I safe? Am I not safe? Are we coming or are we going? We like to say that organizational change is individual behavior change at scale. That's all it is. We're just trying to change individual mindsets and behaviors with lots and lots and lots of people. So even though I do this for a living, I cannot get my daughter to brush her teeth. So it doesn't apply in all cases. But when you are working with people in an organization, if you can try and change one mindset, one story that people are telling, then you have a pretty good chance of changing them all. So what we look to is when we are trying to change the role that people play, the story that they're telling about why I come to work, what I do, and what's the service that I provide, my legacy, if you will, it can be a really helpful lever to start to change the story of the company or the story of the change. Now, it's all going to get more practical in a second. We're going to do an exercise today on how to reframe a story. Reframing is a tool, an exercise. Feel free to steal. We use it for a few reasons. One, to think differently, to affect a disruptive shift or disarm skeptics. Two, to expose conventional wisdom, perhaps starting with our own. And then thirdly, just to inspire some hope. Anyone been to Mauritius? Amazing. How was it? Yeah. So it is this tiny little country off the coast of Madagascar. I'll tell another story that will illustrate how we will do reframing. There was a consultant named Nishan, and he was engaged as an advisor to the Prime Minister of Mauritius. Now, his challenge was that Mauritius as a country was feeling rather stuck. Like they're in the middle of nowhere, their economic potential was dim, so obviously bring in the consultants. That's why I have a job. When he was working with the Prime Minister, he found that this was the fundamental core belief that the Prime Minister and his people had, that Mauritius is a small, insignificant island in the Indian Ocean. Not a lot of possibility here. So he asked, what are the supporting beliefs you have for that? Why do you believe that? And the Prime Minister said, well, we are a small island. That is factually true. We are small. And, well, its main asset, the island itself, is actually sinking. See? Third, we are far from everywhere. And we have a very small GDP. All of these reasons, true, make sense, and support a kind of dismal core belief. So Nishan said, okay, I see you, I hear you, feel where you're coming from, this is why I'm here, but let's see how we might be able to flip some of these statements. Small island, huge waters. All right, yeah, still true, yep. The island is sinking. The ocean is getting bigger. Far from everywhere, close to everything. Get just as easily to Asia as you can to South America. And finally, small GDP, serious economic potential. So what new core belief does this support? That Mauritius is the largest ocean state in the world. Now that's a new core belief that you can really build something off of. And what did they do? Well, a lot of really amazing things for the island. With a new reframed view on the potential of natural resources, responsible fishery management, they had a huge seaweed production that they launched, offshore wind, ocean thermal, server parks for big tech. And none of that would have been possible with the mindset that Mauritius is a small, insignificant island in the Indian Ocean. So the question is, how do you do this for your agencies? Either your agency at large or your individual team, or for yourself. So the first thing that we're going to do, promised it would be interactive, is to get you into groups, like these cute puppies. Let me explain first, and then I'll have you get into groups. Once you get into groups of, let's say, between 3 and 6, so you may have to reshuffle a little bit, split up tables or do what you need to. Between 3 and 6 is ideal. I want you to share with everyone in your group, just get to know each other, your name, your role in your company, if you're working somewhere, and how do you like your eggs? So I'll start. My name is Bree. I'm the CEO of Nobel, and I like my eggs kind of a goopy over medium. Got it? All right, well, we will come back together in like 5 minutes, 3 minutes after you've done this. So groups of between 3 and 6, sharing around. All right, finish up your discussions in about 5 seconds. We will continue on. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks. All right, everyone have some new good recipes for eggs, I hope. Perfect. So now that we're all well acquainted, if you didn't get to finish, you finish when we start working together. We're going to do reframing in 4 steps. Here's how we'll do it. We're first going to come up with and define a core belief, and kind of a shitty one that sounds like Mauritius is an insignificant island, or any place, rather, where you feel like you or your team, your agency is getting stuck. And I'll walk you through how to do this. Then we're going to map our supporting beliefs. Why do we think this true? Or rather, why do people tend to think this is true? Then we're going to find opposites for those 4 beliefs. And then we're going to construct a new reframed core belief. So some pro tips for this. Don't forget about wordsmithing. So if you're like, oh, did we leverage the capability? Forget it. It doesn't matter. Just like say what you want to say. Speak in plain I said that wrong. Speak in plain English. So instead of saying leverage capabilities, you can say things like use stuff we're good at. It's fine. So here's how we're going to start. In a minute, I'm going to have you individually first write down the answer to maybe 2 or 3 of these questions, whatever inspires you. So you're going to identify a blocker to achieving your agency goals this year. And as Renetta was talking about before, if you can find a goal that's close to like fundamentally the business strategy of what your CEO needs to achieve, the more likely you'll be able to insert yourself in those conversations where you should be. So think about your agency's goals and answer some of these questions. People at our agency recruiting will always be a problem because agencies are struggling, because clients will never, turnover is inevitable. Those damn millennials, they're always doing something or other we don't like. We can't fix our culture because any of these are fine. You have Post-its on your table. We're going to use those primarily. It makes it a little bit easier to share our thinking. So if you could just divvy up a few of those Post-its, put one idea per Post-it. Again, each person, 2, 3 max is great. I'm going to have you do this individually. It's good to get all your brains squeezed before you anchor on the first person's idea. So let me have you do that first. We'll do this silently, just like 1 to 2 minutes. Write down the latter part of the sentence for 2 or 3 of these. Now, if you're writing, keep writing. I'm going to give the next instructions. What you'll do in a round, one person at a time, and in quick succession, you'll share the statements. Now, we only have 1:45, so pro tip on sharing, you don't have to explain it. I want to get you to a good place at the end. I'll go back. Yeah. So you'll just read what you wrote, put it down, read the other one you wrote, the third if you have it. You'll go in a round, and then we're going to have you vote by just putting a little star with a pen on the Post-it you like the most. And you can vote for 2 Post-its. And as a group, you'll select the one that seems most juicy, that you most want to dig into. So again, the instructions. In a quick round, in quick succession, you'll share your statements. Each person gets 2 stars to vote. Like literally just take your pen and put a star on the Post-it that you like. You can vote for your own if you want. Pick the ones that are juicy. That's like, yeah, everybody says that, and I don't think that's right. And then you'll select the winner. So what we're going for here is Mauritius is a small and insignificant island in the Indian Ocean, the real downer. Okay, everyone know what they're doing? All right, so take maybe 5, I'll go back, 5 minutes, yeah. And keep writing. If you need an extra minute to write, that's totally okay. All right, go ahead and wrap up your discussions in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks. All right, if you didn't get to selecting one, you can continue in the next portion. I'm going to walk you through what happens next. On your table, you should have some 11 by 17s. Go ahead and flip those over. One of them, don't worry about the Madlib one for now. One of them says reframing. So what you'll do is the person with the most legible handwriting in Sharpie, that sometimes helps, write your core belief where it says core belief. All right, go ahead and wrap up your discussions. I'm going to give you instructions for the next bit. Thanks. So hopefully you have a core belief now. You're feeling kind of just depressed about the state of things. Surely it's never going to get better. We're going to enter a deeper state of depression before it gets better. And we're going to do that by brainstorming the supporting beliefs. So you should have a core belief in the center here. We're now going to generate the outside circle supporting beliefs. We're going to do this by brainstorming individually first, just the quickest way to get ideas out. Just, one per Post-it again, maybe just 1 to 2 ideas. And ask yourself, of our core belief, why do we believe this? Should be factual, should be maybe what you hear at the water cooler. Everyone says, oh, well, this is the case because this. So what makes this core belief true? And then you'll do the same sort of interaction. You'll share in a group, here's what I have for supporting beliefs. You'll select 4 that you think are most interesting or maybe the hardest nuts to crack. And then you're going to write those. I'm going to move my slide around. In the outermost circles. So these are the depressing supporting beliefs. These are the ones in the red. However you pick the 4 that you want to choose doesn't matter. There's no prizes for if you wrote one and everyone picks yours. So you can use stars again. You could designate a chooser, however you like, but you'll get 4 supporting beliefs. Make sense? All right, so take a minute, jot some ideas by yourself, and then go ahead and share. And if you could kindly, because I want to try and pace everyone, once you have 4 supporting beliefs selected, just quickly pop up your hand, put it down again, and then I can sort of see how we go. Sound good? All right. All right, go ahead and wrap up your discussions. If you have a few more to do, you can do them after we do our next activity. So go ahead and wrap up your chats, and I'll give you the next instruction. So I'm going to invite you to play with me a little bit, if anyone feels like doing a little bit of improv this after. I know, sometimes that's scary. I actually need 2 volunteers. It's not hard. It's not embarrassing. I'm going to embarrass myself. You just get to stand beside me. Come on up. One more. Yeah, come on up. Okay. Yeah, round of applause. Yeah, come up. Oh, yeah, you can come up. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to do an exercise called pros and cons. You're going to do this in your group. And it's an improv exercise to help you switch your mental state between, oh, that's terrible. Oh, it could be this. No, not this. Yes, that. Right? Because right now what we've done is we've suitably depressed ourselves. This is the state of affairs. Here's these supporting beliefs that nothing's ever going to get better. So we want to exercise our brains to be able to flip back and forth between, oh, no, it can't be. Sure, it can be. No, it can't be. Sure, it can be. So here's how this goes. I'm going to give you, oh, yeah, thank you. I'm Bree, yeah, sorry, yes. Hi, thanks for coming up. Here's how this goes. I'm going to give you a topic, and one person's job in your group is going to be to advocate for that topic very strongly, and everyone else in the group, your job is to cheer them on, right? So it'll sound like, my example is McDonald's, so I'm going to say, McDonald's is the great, such consistency across locations, and you two are going to say, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes, that's amazing.
Perfect. That's exactly right. And then I'm going to do a chime. I'll do it with the mic so everyone can hear. When you hear that chime, you're going to switch. So I'm going to say, oh, McDonald's is terrible. Do you know how many chemicals are in there in the process? And you're going to do the same thing. It's terrible. So, right. They're going to egg me on, okay? You're going to hear the bell again. Oh, but actually, they have those play spaces for kids. It's a wonderful place. It's so family friendly. But the germs in those play spaces, terrible. Yes. So, round of applause. That was wonderful. You guys can go back. So you get the idea. Now, you can self-select to do this. We are going to do this 3 times. So if you really don't want to, you can opt out in your group. So in your group, select 3 people who are going to be the me role. Then you'll hear the chimes. You'll go back and forth a few times, and then we'll go on to the next person. So what's the order of operations? First, actually, let's do this. First, in your groups, select the 3 people who want to try and play, and then decide your order. Okay? So just do that for a minute. All right, everybody got it? Great. All right. You should have the 3 people selected, the order that you're going to go. I'm going to ask you to stand because, it's a long day of sitting, so go ahead and stand up in your groups. All right, go ahead and stand. Thank you. Raise your hand if you're the first person to go. Great. Everybody else, you're going to egg them on. They are the smartest, most right person you've ever heard before. That's right. And that first person is going to debate about Halloween, the merits of Halloween. Start with Halloween is great. And go until you hear the bell. Go ahead. Ready to dive back in? Things are going to get good now. The next step is to define the opposite beliefs for all of your supporting beliefs. So as a group, you can do the same thing. You can write individually if you liked working that way, or if you feel like just chatting it out, that's fine too. As a group, you're going to brainstorm opposite beliefs for each of your 4 selected supporting beliefs. So a pro tip, if it's hard, is to start with the phrase, "Isn't it amazing that?" So here we're going from, it's a small island, huge waters. So here's some example, a talent example. Our people are too protective of their clients to collaborate. They don't want to talk to me. They just want to keep their clients and not have anyone else come in and bother them. Well, maybe the reframed version of that is, well, we're fiercely devoted to our clients. We're going to great lengths to serve them. I think both of those things could be true and coexist. One's a more positive version of the other. Or our people want promotions every year. What is that about? Or our people are passionate about growing their careers, and that's good for us and for them. You get the idea? Think about what is the opposite, or isn't it amazing that people are so devoted to their careers that they're willing to advocate for themselves in uncomfortable situations for yearly promotions? I don't know. Maybe that's a rough one for this crowd. All right, you got the idea? All right, so we'll spend maybe about 7 minutes or so in the group. And when you're done, you should have your 4 inner circles completed. All right, I'm going to pause you there so I can give you your next instruction. And if you're still working on these, you can continue in the next section. Now comes the point where we put it all back together. This next step is for you to construct a reframed core belief. So note, this is not a direct opposite of the original belief. So we had Mauritius is an insignificant island. It's not, Mauritius isn't an insignificant island. Rather, it's Mauritius is the largest ocean state in the world. So it doesn't have to be a direct opposite, and it should feel generative, like there's possibility there. So you can do this by asking yourself, considering these 4 reframed supporting beliefs, what would be my new core belief? And a pro tip here, hide your original core belief if you need to. Get that out of your head. And just ask yourself, for these 4 new supporting beliefs, what conclusion would we draw? Or just anyone looking at these 4 supporting beliefs, what conclusion would they draw? So you're done with this section when you have all of your bubbles and boxes filled in. Okay, so we'll take maybe 4 or 5 minutes for this. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead and wrap up your discussions. We're going to have another work session, so if you need to keep working on your core beliefs, that's okay. All right, new instructions. At this point, you should have, or close to having, your entire sheet filled out. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. That's great. It was hard. Well done. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of generation of what could be true in this new world. Then we're going to wrap it all up, and then we're going to share. So now that you have a reframed core belief, we want to tell a new story. Anyone know these guys? Yeah. So I should say I'm in Improv 201 at UCB. I'm a big improv fan. It's a ton of fun and really helpful for business, I've found. And what I've been learning in these improv classes is how to create a reality, how to create a new reality out of your imagination. Essentially what improv is, you have two people on a stage and all of a sudden they're at a beach and there's palm trees and somebody's a beach detective and then all sorts of chaos ensues. But they create that where there was nothing before. And one way they do that is by asking the question, if this unusual thing is true, what else is true? So on the left here is UCB's, what do you call this, emblem? Badge. And it says, the translation here is, if this unusual thing is true, what else is true? And it's the fundamental practice of how they create a reality. And when you're storytelling within your organization, what you're also trying to do is to create a new reality. So from your reframed core beliefs, we ask, if this new story is true, the good version, the one that you just came up with, what else is true? What we're going to do is we will choose your own adventure, either individually again if you like that, or brainstorm in a group. 2 to 3 ideas for what you can do now in this new reality that potentially you couldn't have done before or didn't have the ideas for. For example, for Mauritius, because Mauritius is the largest ocean state in the world, we can build wind farms, harvest seaweed, etc. Talent examples. Because only agencies can keep the kind of curious, ambitious talent that gets bored in-house. Well, if that's what we're going to capitalize on, then we can maybe offer a shadow day program in which you spend a day peeking in on another client for inspiration. Because the unique thing that agencies have is you get to work with lots of different companies, the curious, excited people who like that kind of thing. How can you how do you make that unique characteristic of an agency, how do you make that even more true? What can you do now with this reframed belief? Does that make sense? So 2 to 3 minutes, either individually or brainstorm in a group, come up with a few ideas. What can we do now that we're telling a new story? Everyone have a handful of ideas? No one has a handful of ideas. Okay, yes? Yes, great. All right, I'm going to give you instructions for the next thing. Now that you have started with a core belief, reframed your supporting beliefs, developed a new core belief, and then brainstormed of what you can do in that new reality, now it is time to put it together into a story. On your tables, you should have something that looks like Reframing Madlib. And the instructions for the Madlib are up on the screen. Now, you should have all the ingredients for this Madlib already. It reads like this. Lots of people say, that's where you put in your original core belief, and they're not entirely wrong. One supporting belief and another supporting belief. But we've never been ones to simply nod along. It strikes us that new supporting belief and new supporting belief, which means that in reality, new core belief. And isn't that amazing? In a world where that is true, we can explore new idea number 1 that you just came up with, and new idea number 2, and new idea number 3, where there is a new story, there is possibility, and we choose possibility. Now, your job is to simply take all the brain power you've just squeezed from your teams and put it in the Madlib. And when you're done, we're going to share. We've made it. So what we'll need now... If you're still working, that's okay. You can finish up transcribing. So now we pull the rabbit out of the hat. The hat out of the rabbit. I'm going to ask you to share. We'll do maybe have 4 or 5 groups share in the interest of time. I am notoriously bad at throwing things, but I'm going to try to throw this. This is a microphone, and this is how you can share. Just cover your water glasses. I'm going to do my best. Do we have a brave volunteer for the first group? Oh, good, an easy throw. All right, read us your Madlib. Is it on?
You know, lots of people say we'll never win the best talent because we are small, and they're not entirely wrong. Small agencies don't have a culture and don't have a cool portfolio of work, but we've never been ones to simply nod along. It strikes us that we help take unknown brands and make them famous. And we have the richest culture where you can contribute and have a louder voice, which means that in reality people thrive at small agencies because ideas and opportunities are bigger. Sorry, I just learned to read this morning. And it isn't that amazing. And isn't that amazing? Sorry. And that isn't amazing. Sorry. See?
You're doing great.
In a world where that's true, we can explore learning new skills and influence culture and grow as individuals. Remember, every company started out small. Where there's a new story, there's possibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Thanks. Round of applause. Got it. Nailed it. All right. Thank you. That was fantastic. Anyone else? Hold on. Here you go.
A light toss. Hello. You know, lots of people say clients don't value agency work, and they're not entirely wrong. Budgets are shrinking, and they're in-housing a lot of the work. But we've never been ones to simply nod along. It strikes us that there's opportunity to redefine our capabilities and encourage efficiencies to avoid over-servicing, which means that in reality, clients appreciate our attention to agility and our understanding of their business needs. And isn't that amazing? In a world where that's true, we can explore a more fluid definition of roles, giving our employees more skin in the game, and allowing the entire agency to share in client success. Where there is a new story, there is possibility, and we choose possibility.
Bravo. Brava. That was great. Thank you. Take two more. Brave souls. All right, well, we'll do these two. I'm going to toss it here and make someone here toss it back there. So there you go.
All right, let's do this. You know, lots of people say turnover is inevitable because we do not listen to our people. And they're not entirely wrong. Exit interviews are negative, lack of action and no change. But we've never been ones to simply nod along. It strikes us that gathering honest feedback and empowering people, which means that in reality, fresh talent brings innovative ideas, new perspectives, and the ability to enable positive change. And isn't that amazing? In a world where that's true, we can explore innovation hackathons, reward actionable innovations, and showcase your learnings. Where there's a new story, there's a possibility, and we choose possibility.
Bravo.
Who's next?
Someone stand up and be our catcher here. Oh. Yeah, great.
That was a great catch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So just go through and read it, yeah?
That's it. You
Okay.
got it.
You know, lots of people say we'll never change because leadership continues to fall back on old habits. And they're not entirely wrong. There's too much money tied up in the existing model, and there's no clear new North Star. But as all of us know, we've never been ones to simply nod along. It strikes us that there is potential to pave a new path, and we're built on a strong foundation and years of experience, which means that in reality, now is the perfect time to evolve. And isn't that amazing? In a world where that's true, we can explore opening new revenue streams, exploring expertise and talent pools we hadn't tapped into before, and act as an industry thought leader. Where there is a new story.
Yeah, great.
There is a possibility, and we choose possibility.
Bravo.
I'm not throwing it.
Well done. All right, you've reframed some stories. So we're on to the third part of our agenda, which is just what to do on Monday. Hopefully you're feeling inspired, like you have a new lease on life. So a few thoughts. Take your reframed story in the form of a Madlib. Take a picture of it if you need. Share it aloud with your team. The first team meeting you have, whether it's with your team or with leadership, share it aloud with all the context. Ask, what other stories that we tell ourselves might not be true? Or maybe these stories are confining, or maybe the stories are simply outdated. What's the new perspective that you see? And then simply, what's the first smallest step we can take to tell that story or test a new approach? So simply share. I've been thinking that there might be opportunity where we've been finding brick walls. And what do other people see? It's an opportunity to ask, like, which naked emperors do you see that we should maybe collectively call out together? Of course, I'm happy to share the deck as well, so you could do the whole exercise if you wanted with someone. It is sort of an experiential thing. You have to go through the steps. But as a good first step, it might be helpful to share a reframed story and get people thinking, yeah, also, I was thinking this may not serve us and this may not be true. Usually those perspectives are already inside you and your agency and just need a little bit of prodding to come out. So before we go, it's cute, huh? This is a slide to say, what are you taking with you? And if not a ferret, hopefully a nugget of wisdom, a good idea. So what I'd love for everyone to do is, after a whole hour and 45 minutes of intense thinking and collaboration, take 2 minutes to yourself silently and jot down on a Post-it or on a notebook, wherever you like, just one thing that you are taking away with you. It can be something that it could be something brilliant that I said, of course, yes. Or it could be something that you talked about in your team. It could be one of your reframed beliefs. Anything, a question someone asked, something that was going to stick with you in the shower tomorrow morning and that you're still going to be going, yeah, I'm going to ponder on that a bit more. All right, just 2 minutes. What are you taking with you? I'd love to have 3 people share. What are you taking away with you? Especially if you were like real jealous of not being able to catch this cool toy. You have one? Oh, maybe we can just hear you. Okay, just speak up. Yeah.
Look for new core beliefs and supporting ones to help shape my perspective on what's truly possible.
Love it. Thank you. That's wonderful. Oh, yeah, let's clap. Why not? Yeah. Thank you so much. Second one, what are you taking with you? Go ahead. Sure.
So I have, you get to see more opportunities and obstacles when you open yourself up to different, more positive perspectives.
Love it. Thank you. We'll clap for you as well. Last one, no pressure. Just closing remarks. One more. What are you taking with you? Yeah. What's that? Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you. Did you want to share? I know, hope is hard to beat. Yeah, so well done. Mic drop and all that. All right, so at this point, I just want to say a sincere thank you to all of you. I'd love to stay in touch. LinkedIn, I'm going to have a new speaking site at the next month or so with a cool URL that my husband bought for me from Estonia. And you can also follow our newsletter at nobel.io. We put out weekly tips on leading change. So to you all, I say a most sincere thanks for playing along and spending the morning with me.